The blackness of space stretched endlessly around the Zephyrian fleet. Thousands of warships glimmered like stars, each one ready to defend the Empire against any intruder. Admiral Ruvik stood on the bridge of his flagship, his sharp eyes scanning the sensors. For centuries, the Zephyrians had ruled their part of the galaxy without challenge. Nothing and no one had ever dared enter their territory without permission. Then the alert sounded. A small blip appeared on the scanners, moving steadily toward the Empire. It was alone, tiny compared to the massive Zephyrian warships. Admiral Ruvik narrowed his eyes. A single ship? How foolish. Prepare interceptors. Teach them the cost of entering our space uninvited, he said. Meanwhile, aboard the Terran Warship, Captain Mara stood calmly on the bridge. Her ship was modest in size, far smaller than the enormous Zephyrian vessels. Yet every system was operating at peak efficiency. Her crew moved with quiet precision, adjusting controls, checking systems, and communicating clearly. The ship had traveled for weeks through uncharted space, and now it was approaching the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. Sensors show multiple large warships ahead, said Lieutenant Cole, Mara's navigation officer. His voice carried a mix of caution and excitement. They look like battle cruisers, much bigger than us. Mara smiled slightly. Then we will make ourselves seen. Keep shields ready, but do not fire unless I give the order. We are here to observe first. Her voice was calm, confident, and full of authority. The crew trusted her without question. The Zephyrians launched their interceptors. Squadrons of sleek, deadly fighters streaked toward the lone Terran ship with precision. They expected an easy victory. Their sensors confirmed the human ship's small size and ordinary appearance. They will not escape us, Ruvik said with certainty. But the humans did not panic. Mara adjusted the ship's trajectory with fluid motions. The Terran warship twisted and turned in ways the Zephyrians did not anticipate. Laser blasts from the interceptors struck, but the humans dodged with speed and skill. Every move was calculated, each one pushing the limits of what seemed possible for their ship. One by one, the Zephyrian interceptors were forced to retreat. The Terran crew worked seamlessly together, each member performing tasks instinctively. Weapons were deployed only when necessary, and defensive shields shifted at the perfect moment to absorb impact. The humans seemed to anticipate the Zephyrians' moves before they even happened. Admiral Ruvik could not believe what he saw. His fleet had never faced a single ship that could outmaneuver their best pilots. Impossible, he muttered. He had trained his officers for centuries, and yet these humans seemed to operate under rules he could not understand. On board the Terran ship, Mara watched the displays. Her crew had minimal casualties, and the Zephyrian forces were struggling. We need to gather information about their fleet, she said. Move closer, but stay outside heavy weapons range. Observe their formation. Lieutenant Cole nodded. The Terran ship glided through space with confidence. Every sensor captured data, every crew member contributed to the mission. They recorded ship designs, battle formations, and communication signals. The humans were learning, adapting, and preparing. Ruvik called his top officers to the bridge. This is no ordinary enemy. Prepare all fleets. We cannot allow one ship to disrupt our empire. Find out what they are, and destroy them. Panic began to spread among the officers. They had never encountered an adversary like this before. Back on the Terran ship, Mara's eyes reflected the starlight. She knew they were far from home, deep in alien territory, and danger was all around. Yet she felt calm. Humans had a unique strength, they could think, adapt, and work together in ways no other species could. That was their true weapon, and they would need it. The Terran ship moved silently, collecting information while evading attacks. The Zephyrians, frustrated and confused, could not understand how such a small vessel caused so much disruption. The human strategy was not based on size or firepower. It was based on intelligence, teamwork, and courage. As the Terran ship disappeared into the distance, the Zephyrians were left shaken. Admiral Ruvik knew something unprecedented had occurred. He stared at the dark expanse of space, realizing that one human warship had shown them the limits of their empire. They had faced countless enemies before, but none like this. Mara turned to her crew. "Today we observed, tomorrow we learn more, and the day after we survive," she said. Her crew nodded, ready for whatever lay ahead. They were humans, and humans had a way of changing the outcome of battles in ways no empire could predict. In that moment, the galaxy began to understand that the Terrans were not to be underestimated. A single ship, a single crew, could make empires rethink everything they believed about strength and power. And the story of this lone human warship had only just begun. The Zephyrian Empire was in chaos. Reports of the Terran warship's unexpected maneuvers reached every command post. No one could understand how such a small vessel had outmaneuvered their elite pilots. Admiral Ruvik sat in silence on his flagship bridge, staring at the sensor screens. "Prepare the main fleet," he ordered. "We will intercept that ship before it reaches the inner systems. Do not underestimate them again." Meanwhile, the Terran warship moved closer to the Zephyrian outpost. Captain Mara had studied their patrol patterns and noticed weaknesses in their formation. The aliens relied on strength and numbers, but they lacked adaptability. Mara's crew prepared for the encounter, checking weapons and shields. Each crew member knew their role. There was no fear, only focus. Lieutenant Cole pointed at the sensor display. "Captain, they have deployed a fleet of 20 fighters to intercept us. They are armed with energy cannons and missiles." Mara studied the screen calmly. "We expected them. Prepare evasive maneuvers. Remember, we fight smarter, not bigger. Use the environment to our advantage. Keep the fleet guessing." The Zephyrian fighters surged forward, confident in their superior numbers. Their pilots had never seen humans in battle before. They expected the Terran ship to flee or surrender. Instead, the humans performed complex maneuvers with precision and grace. The Terran ship twisted and turned, weaving between laser blasts and avoiding missile strikes. One Zephyrian fighter fired a direct shot, but Mara anticipated the move. She executed a sudden spin, letting the laser miss by inches. Another fighter tried to flank the Terran ship, only to be trapped by the humans' clever positioning. Within minutes, 2 Zephyrian fighters were disabled, forced to retreat. The rest of the fleet hesitated, unsure of how to respond. On board the Terran ship, Mara gave clear, calm orders. "Fire only when we have an advantage. Use their overconfidence against them. Keep moving. Keep thinking." Her crew followed her instructions perfectly. Every action was coordinated, and every member contributed to the strategy. The Zephyrians were stunned. Their greatest pilots had never faced an opponent who moved unpredictably and thought creatively in real time. "How can one ship do this?" an officer whispered, unable to hide his fear. Admiral Ruvik clenched his hands. He had believed in the strength of his empire, but these humans were rewriting the rules of space combat. Mara noticed a gap in the Zephyrian formation. She gave a single command: engage. The Terran warship accelerated through the gap, dodging 2 energy blasts. The humans' small size and agility allowed them to strike at the enemy's weak points. They disabled weapons systems and caused chaos among the fighters. Within moments, the Zephyrian forces were retreating, unable to maintain formation. Back on the flagship, Ruvik's face was pale. "This cannot continue. Send in the capital ships. Overwhelm them with sheer force." Orders were relayed, and massive Zephyrian cruisers moved to intercept. Their weapons were far more powerful than the Terran ships, and Ruvik expected victory. But Mara was ready. She had studied alien technology and tactics during their approach. Using rapid calculations, she predicted the fleet's movements. The Terran ship dodged plasma beams and launched countermeasures to confuse targeting systems. The humans were not stronger, but they were smarter, faster, and more creative than the aliens anticipated. Aboard the Terran ship, the crew worked seamlessly. Engineers rerouted power to shields, while gunners aimed precisely at the weak points in enemy armor. Communications officers intercepted alien messages, providing real-time information on fleet movements. Every crew member contributed, and every action counted. The Zephyrians began to lose control. Their ships collided, and their attacks became uncoordinated. One cruiser fired at another by mistake. Panic spread among their pilots. For the first time, the Empire faced an enemy that could not be defeated by strength alone. Mara watched the chaos unfold. Maintain distance. Do not pursue. Gather data and retreat if necessary, she instructed. The Terran ship moved gracefully through the battlefield, leaving a trail of confusion behind. They had proven their superiority without engaging in a full-scale fight. The Zephyrians retreated to regroup. Ruvik's hands shook as he spoke to his officers. We underestimated them. One ship, one crew, has outsmarted our entire fleet. Prepare for new strategies. Study their tactics. We cannot lose again. As the Terran ship disappeared into the void, the crew allowed themselves a small sigh of relief. They had faced the first challenge in Zephyrian space and survived. Captain Mara looked at her crew and said, "This is only the beginning. The galaxy will know why no empire survives a Terran warship." The humans continued their journey, calm but alert. They had proven that intelligence, courage, and teamwork could overcome any odds. And in the vast emptiness of space, the first encounter had already begun to change the balance of power. The Zephyrian Empire was still reeling from the first encounter with the Terran warship. Across multiple command centers, officers and scientists gathered to study the reports. Every sensor reading, every tactical move, and every piece of data from the battle was analyzed. The conclusion shocked them: a single human ship had outsmarted their entire fleet. Admiral Ruvik paced the bridge of his flagship. How is it possible? One ship, one crew, has caused more damage than an entire squadron of our best pilots, he muttered. His officers avoided eye contact, knowing there was no simple answer. The humans fought differently. They did not rely solely on weapons or numbers. They adapted, they thought, and they worked together in ways no Zephyrian had ever seen. Meanwhile, aboard the Terran warship, Captain Mara reviewed the data collected during their encounter. The ship's sensors had recorded the Zephyrians' fleet movements, energy usage, and communication signals. Every crew member contributed to understanding their enemy. Engineers discussed ways to exploit weaknesses in alien technology. Gunners practiced precise targeting. Even the youngest crew members suggested improvements to tactical decisions. Lieutenant Cole approached Mara. "Captain, I think they are trying to understand us. Their fleet has slowed. I can detect sensors scanning our ship in unusual patterns." Mara nodded. "Good. Let them try. Knowledge is powerful, but it is only useful if they can use it faster than we can adapt. Keep shields at maximum and continue monitoring their fleet. They are learning, but we are evolving." Back on the Zephyrian flagship, scientists gathered around advanced holographic displays. They examined the Terran warship closely. At first, they expected advanced alien technology, something beyond their understanding. But what they found surprised them. The Terran ship's design was efficient but simple. Its weapons were not the most powerful in the galaxy. Its shields were standard compared to Zephyrian standards. Dr. Varek, the chief scientist, spoke up. "It is not their technology. Their ship is ordinary. What makes them dangerous is their crew. They adapt, anticipate, and innovate. They do not follow predictable patterns. Their thinking itself is a weapon." Ruvik's eyes narrowed. "Then we are facing not just a ship, but a mind that cannot be outmaneuvered by rules alone. Prepare new tactics. Study them closely. Understand them, or we risk more losses. Meanwhile, the Terran crew continued their mission. Mara knew the humans' greatest advantage was teamwork. Each crew member had a role, but every person was trained to think independently. If one system failed, another could adapt. If one plan failed, another could be created on the spot. This flexibility made them unpredictable, and unpredictability was their greatest weapon. Lieutenant Cole noticed an anomaly on the sensors. "Captain, they are deploying drones to probe us. They are testing every system, every response. They do not know what to expect next." Mara smiled. "Let them probe. Every move they make teaches us how they think. But we must never become predictable. Keep moving. Keep observing. One mistake could be dangerous, but our strength lies in our coordination and awareness." The Zephyrians continued their analysis. Holographic displays showed patterns of human decision-making that seemed illogical at first. One officer noted, "They take risks that we would never allow. They exploit gaps we do not see. They learn faster than we can react." Ruvik slammed his fist on the console. "These humans are not bound by protocol. They use intuition, creativity, and adaptability. That is why one ship can challenge an entire fleet. Prepare every squadron. We cannot rely on strength alone. We must think like them, but I fear our species is not capable of it." Aboard the Terran warship, Mara reflected on the situation. Humans had survived countless challenges by relying on intelligence and cooperation. No alien race had ever encountered a species that could innovate under pressure so effectively. The humans' advantage was not in their weapons or shields, but in their minds and their unity as a crew. "Captain, sensors indicate they are repositioning capital ships," Lieutenant Cole reported. "Let them reposition." "We are ready," Mara said. "Our advantage is our awareness. We see opportunities they cannot. We act where they hesitate. That is the difference between us and them. They have numbers, but we have insight." As the Terran warship moved silently through the void, the Zephyrians studied their every move. Every new tactic, every adaptive maneuver left them frustrated. The humans' methods were unfamiliar, unpredictable, and effective. Admiral Ruvik realized that defeating them would require more than firepower. It would require understanding a type of thinking that no Zephyrian had ever encountered. The crew of the Terran ship prepared for the next encounter. They knew that the Zephyrians would not be so easily fooled again. But they also knew that humans had a unique strength that could not be measured by technology alone. Intelligence, courage, and teamwork could overcome even the most powerful empires. In the darkness of space, the humans moved with confidence. They were small in number, yet immense in capability. Their actions would soon change the Zephyrians' understanding of warfare forever. One simple, ordinary ship had become a symbol of human ingenuity. And the galaxy had only just begun to see the true power of the Terrans. The Terran warship glided silently through the dark void of space, leaving a trail of uncertainty behind. Captain Mara studied the charts of Zephyrian supply routes and outposts. She had learned much from the first encounters. The aliens relied on predictability, strength, and formations, but humans thrived on creativity, coordination, and risk-taking. Lieutenant Cole pointed to the sensors. "Captain, there is a supply hub ahead. It is heavily guarded, but the defenses have gaps. If we strike there, we could disrupt their operations across multiple systems." Mara nodded. "We do not strike to destroy everything. We strike to weaken them and learn more about their response. Prepare for precision attack. Everyone knows their roles." The Terran crew moved with quiet efficiency. Engineers checked weapon systems and energy shields, gunners prepared targeting computers, and communications officers monitored Zephyrian signals. The ship itself seemed alive with anticipation. Every part of it was synchronized with the minds of its crew. Meanwhile, Admiral Ruvik was assembling his officers. They have avoided a full-scale engagement, but they are bold enough to threaten our supply lines. Prepare defenses. Fortify every station and outpost. They will not pass unnoticed this time. Panic and frustration spread among the Zephyrians. They could not understand how one ship could challenge the Empire so effectively. The Terran warship approached the supply hub. Mara scanned the area carefully. The station was large, with energy cannons covering every direction. Fighters patrolled the perimeter, but there were blind spots, areas where sensors could not fully cover. Mara had calculated the safest path for approach, one that minimized risk while maximizing impact. Engage stealth protocols, Mara commanded. The ship's hull shimmered as the stealth systems activated. It was nearly invisible against the dark backdrop of space. The Zephyrians scanned frantically but could not detect the human ship. Target the energy conduits on the left side of the hub, Mara ordered. The gunners fired with precision, hitting critical points. Explosions erupted, and energy lines sparked. The hub's defenses faltered. Fighters scrambled, but they were slow to respond to the humans' unpredictable movements. The Zephyrian pilots were stunned. How is this possible? One ship disables defenses faster than our squads can react, one shouted. Their fleet had trained for centuries, yet the humans were proving unstoppable in ways they had not anticipated. Mara's ship moved like a shadow, dodging fire and striking weak points with remarkable accuracy. Every action was planned but flexible. The crew adapted instantly when new threats appeared. A Zephyrian cruiser attempted to intercept, but the humans predicted its approach, forcing it to retreat after taking minor damage. Excellent work, everyone, Mara said calmly. Keep pressure on them. Focus on key systems, not destruction. We learn more from their reactions than their ships. The supply hub began to falter. Communication lines were disrupted, energy flows destabilized, and the outpost's fighters were disoriented. The Terrans did not need to destroy everything. Their goal was to create disruption and confusion, to show that even the most secure systems were vulnerable. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Ruvik's face was dark with concern. They are attacking our core supply networks with precision. We cannot anticipate their next move. Prepare for full counterattack, but I fear it may be too late. The humans' attack continued. Mara maneuvered through the chaos, gathering data and observing the Zephyrians' responses. Every new move by the aliens was recorded, analyzed, and remembered. The Terrans learned faster than the Zephyrians could adapt. One Zephyrian fighter tried to flank the Terran ship, but it was too slow. The humans anticipated the maneuver and blocked the path, forcing the fighter to retreat. Another cruiser fired multiple energy blasts, but the Terran shields absorbed them all while countermeasures disabled the enemy weapons. Finally, the Terran ship retreated from the hub, leaving it damaged but intact. Mara looked at her crew. We have struck a message into their operations. They will know that one ship, one crew, can challenge their empire. Now we watch and learn from their reactions. The Zephyrians were left scrambling. Their supply hub was weakened, their pilots confused, and their strategies questioned. Admiral Ruvik understood that brute force alone would not defeat the humans. One small ship had shown them that intelligence, adaptability, and teamwork could overcome their empire's might. Mara and her crew continued their journey. Every system of the Terran ship operated like a single mind, every crew member acting with skill and coordination. They had proven that humans were not just survivors but innovators, capable of challenging even the most powerful empires in the galaxy. In the darkness of space, the humans had struck at the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. They had shown that precision, courage, and strategy could be more powerful than sheer numbers. And the galaxy was beginning to see that the Terrans were not to be underestimated. The Terran warship glided through the dark expanse of space, leaving the damaged Zephyrian supply hub behind. Captain Mara studied the data collected from the encounter. The humans had achieved what no one expected. One small ship had disrupted the operations of an entire empire. Yet Mara knew their mission was far from over. Lieutenant Cole approached her. "Captain, their forces are regrouping. I detect multiple cruisers and fighter squadrons moving toward us. They may be planning a trap." Mara nodded calmly. "Let them prepare. We expected resistance. This is why we remain unpredictable. Keep shields at maximum and continue monitoring their fleet. Observe, but do not engage unless necessary." Meanwhile, Admiral Ruvik was furious. "One ship has embarrassed my entire fleet. They attack our hubs, evade our fighters, and retreat without a scratch. I will not allow this to continue. Prepare a trap. Destroy that ship before it can strike again." Zephyrian fleets moved strategically, attempting to corner the Terrans. They coordinated attacks, reinforced patrols, and positioned capital ships to block any escape. They believed overwhelming force would finally crush the humans. Yet they underestimated the adaptability of the Terrans. On board the Terran Warship, Mara studied the Zephyrian movements. They expect a direct confrontation. We will give them something they cannot predict. Prepare for diversion maneuvers. Use the environment, the blind spots, and their overconfidence against them. Lieutenant Cole glanced at the displays. "Captain, they have multiple ships converging on our position. If we engage, it will be a full battle." Mara's eyes were steady. "Then we engage, but on our terms. Focus on strategy, not power. Use their mistakes against them. Remember, humans survive by thinking differently, not by brute force." The Terran warship moved with precision. It feigned a retreat, drawing Zephyrian cruisers and fighters into positions that seemed advantageous. The aliens believed they had the upper hand, confident in their numbers and firepower. Yet the humans had anticipated every step. Suddenly, the Terran ship reversed its approach, cutting through a gap in the Zephyrian formation. The humans struck at weak points in the cruiser's defenses, disabling weapons and communications without being hit. Their movements were swift and coordinated, each action complementing the next. Zephyrian pilots were stunned. "How is one ship doing this? They anticipate our every move," one shouted. Confusion spread among the ranks. Their trap had become a disadvantage. They were reacting to the humans instead of leading the battle. Mara watched carefully. "Maintain pressure. Avoid unnecessary risk. Focus on disruption, not destruction. We want them to understand the consequences of underestimating us." The Terran warship dodged missiles and energy beams, using quick rotations and bursts of speed. Gunners targeted critical systems with precision. Engineers adjusted shields in real time, strengthening weak points and absorbing energy strikes. Every crew member acted as one, coordinated and focused. Admiral Ruvik observed the battle with growing unease. They are not just surviving, they are controlling the engagement. We are being outsmarted by one ship, one crew. Prepare all fleets. We must adapt or we will lose more. Despite their superior numbers, the Zephyrians could not regain control. Their attacks were misdirected, their formations broken, and their ships vulnerable. The humans were not stronger in raw firepower, but they were smarter, faster, and more adaptable. That was the key. Mara knew the Zephyrians were learning, but the humans were evolving faster. Every move by the enemy was observed, recorded, and used to refine their tactics. The Terrans did not simply react, they anticipated, calculated, and outmaneuvered. Finally, the Zephyrian fleet began to retreat. Their capital ships fell back to protect damaged units, and fighters regrouped. Admiral Ruvik realized that brute force alone could not defeat the humans. One small ship had turned the tide of the battle. Mara gave the order to withdraw. We have achieved our objective. Retreat in formation. Continue observation. We have shown them that one human warship can challenge their empire. That is more valuable than destruction alone. The Terran crew moved with silent efficiency. They left the battlefield unscathed, their ship intact, and their data collection complete. Humans had proven their greatest strength: intelligence, adaptability, and teamwork. The Zephyrians had begun to understand why no empire could survive a Terran warship. As the stars stretched endlessly around them, Mara addressed her crew. Today, we have shown that courage and coordination can overcome overwhelming odds. Remember this moment. Humans survive and thrive because we think, adapt, and act together. This is what makes us powerful. The crew nodded, understanding their unique strength. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, not through sheer force, but through human ingenuity. The galaxy was beginning to see a new truth: one Terran warship could challenge the might of an entire empire. In the darkness of space, the Terran ship moved onward. Its mission was far from complete, but the first major victory had been achieved. The humans had proven themselves, and the Zephyrians had begun to fear a species that could not be defeated by strength alone. The Zephyrian Empire was shaken. Across multiple star systems, officers, scientists, and pilots discussed the Terran warship. One small ship had evaded entire fleets, disrupted supply lines, and left the Empire confused and fearful. Admiral Ruvik realized that brute strength alone could not overcome humans. They had to understand the Terrans, and that was a challenge unlike any they had faced. Meanwhile, aboard the Terran warship, Captain Mara reviewed the latest intelligence. Sensors had detected multiple Zephyrian patrols and a few smaller cruisers scanning for their ship. Mara remained calm. Humans had survived countless dangers because they could think, adapt, and act together. Knowledge, creativity, and teamwork were their strongest weapons. Lieutenant Cole spoke from the navigation console. "Captain, we have a signal from one of their smaller vessels. It appears they are attempting communication. They may be trying to learn more about us directly." Mara nodded thoughtfully. "Very well. Open a secure channel. Keep all sensitive information protected. Let us see what they reveal about themselves in their own words. Observation is our advantage." The channel opened, and a Zephyrian officer appeared on the view screen. His expression was tense. "Humans, we wish to understand your species. Your tactics, your coordination, and your resilience are unlike anything we have ever encountered. Explain yourselves, or we will escalate our attacks." Mara remained calm. "We are humans. We survive by thinking, learning, and acting together. We do not rely solely on strength or numbers. We value intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. These are the traits that allow us to face even the most powerful adversaries and succeed." The Zephyrian officer hesitated. "Your words, they suggest something beyond combat. You fight not only to defeat, but to learn and to endure. How do you achieve such coordination with so few resources?" Mara smiled slightly. "We trust each other. Every member of our crew is trained to act independently, but in harmony with the whole. We observe, we adapt, and we anticipate. No system is perfect, no plan guaranteed. But we work together to overcome what seems impossible. That is our advantage." The officer looked away for a moment, processing the information. "Our empire has never faced such unpredictability. We rely on protocol, orders, and strength. You do not follow these rules. You are, unlike any enemy we have encountered." "Yes," Mara replied. "That is true. We are not bound by rigidity. We use what we have, wherever we are, to survive and succeed. Intelligence, courage, and cooperation are more powerful than weapons alone." Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Ruvik watched the exchange. His officers were stunned. They fight not merely with weapons, but with their minds. They anticipate, adapt, and innovate. That is why one ship can challenge our entire empire. We have never encountered a species like this before. Dr. Verek, the chief scientist, nodded. It is not their technology that makes them superior. It is their thought process, their ability to learn and change in real time. That is what makes them unpredictable and dangerous. We must study them carefully if we hope to survive future encounters. On the Terran warship, Mara observed the Zephyrians' reactions carefully. Humans had learned through centuries of struggle to value observation and understanding. Knowledge of the enemy allowed them to anticipate moves, exploit weaknesses, and minimize risk. The Terrans' greatest strength was not their weapons or shields, but their ability to think and act as one. Lieutenant Cole spoke quietly. Captain, they are analyzing everything we say and do. They want to understand us fully. It is as if they fear more than our firepower, they fear our minds. Mara nodded. Exactly. Humans have always survived by using intelligence and cooperation. That is something no empire can predict or control. Let them learn. Each revelation they gain about us will teach them humility. The Zephyrians, for the first time, began to respect the humans' unique nature. They realized that no protocol, no fleet formation, and no number of weapons could match the ingenuity, courage, and coordination of a determined Terran crew. They feared not just the ship, but the species behind it. As the Terran warship moved silently away from Zephyrian space, Mara addressed her crew. Humans survive because we think, we trust, and we act together. Today, they have begun to understand that. Tomorrow, the galaxy will know why no empire survives a Terran warship. The crew nodded, proud and focused. They had faced the unknown and shown their strength not through violence alone, but through understanding, intelligence, and teamwork. In the endless darkness of space, the humans' presence was already changing the way the galaxy viewed power and survival. The Zephyrians retreated to their home systems, shaken and contemplative. Admiral Ruvik realized a single truth: the Terrans were not merely an opponent, they were a species capable of reshaping the rules of war, strategy, and survival. Understanding them was the only way to avoid complete defeat, yet even understanding might not be enough. The Terran ship moved onward, continuing its mission, calm and unstoppable. Humans had shown that the mind could be mightier than fleets and weapons. One small warship had taught an empire a lesson they would never forget. The Terran warship glided silently through the cold darkness of space. Captain Mara stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the distant stars. The crew had survived countless encounters with the Zephyrians, disrupted their supply lines, and demonstrated the strength of human ingenuity and teamwork. Now, as they moved farther from Zephyrian space, the galaxy was beginning to understand the true power of humanity. Lieutenant Cole approached. Captain, sensors show no immediate threats ahead. The Zephyrians have retreated to regroup. They are analyzing everything we have done. Mara nodded. Good. Observation continues even in retreat. We have sent a message to the galaxy: one human warship is enough to challenge an entire empire. That message will last longer than any battle. On board the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Ruvik stared at the blinking lights of his fleet. The Empire had never faced a species like the Terrans. One small ship, one crew, had demonstrated what decades of training, vast fleets, and advanced technology could not. The humans were unpredictable, intelligent, and coordinated. The Admiral realized that the Zephyrians would never again see space in the same way. Dr. Verek, the chief scientist, spoke quietly. They fight differently. They do not rely solely on numbers or weapons. They analyze, adapt, and cooperate. That is why one ship can defeat fleets. Understanding them may save us, but it may not be enough. Back on the Terran ship, Mara gathered her crew. We have accomplished much, but our mission is ongoing. The galaxy will remember our actions today. Remember this: humans are strong not because of our ships or weapons, but because we think, adapt, and act together. That is what makes us different. The crew listened carefully. Engineers, gunners, and navigators nodded in agreement. Every member understood that their strength lay not in firepower but in intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Together, they could survive and thrive in any part of the galaxy. News of the Terran warship spread quickly. Stories of their victories, clever maneuvers, and unwavering teamwork reached other empires and civilizations. Across the stars, leaders began to reconsider their strategies. Fleets were no longer judged solely by size or weapons. Intelligence, adaptability, and unity became qualities to respect, or even fear. In Zephyrian space, the Empire worked to rebuild their supply hubs and strengthen defenses. Yet the memory of one small Terran ship remained vivid. Admiral Ruvik could not forget how one crew had disrupted entire fleets and outsmarted their best pilots. For the first time, he understood that empires were vulnerable to a species that could think and adapt beyond their expectations. Meanwhile, Captain Mara guided her crew through uncharted regions. Each system brought new challenges and opportunities. Humans had proven they could survive against overwhelming odds, and they would continue to do so. The lessons they had learned in Zephyrian space would shape their strategy, their training, and their way of thinking for every mission to come. Lieutenant Cole looked at the stars ahead. "Captain, do you think they will ever understand us fully?" Mara smiled. "Perhaps not. Understanding takes time, and humans are always evolving. That is why no empire can fully predict or control us. They can learn some lessons, but the true strength of humans lies in our ability to adapt beyond what anyone expects." The Terran warship moved gracefully through the void, a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. They had faced an empire that relied on size and protocol, yet they had succeeded because humans think differently, trust each other, and act as one. That combination of traits could topple empires, survive impossible odds, and leave a lasting impression on the galaxy. Back in Zephyrian Command, fleets were reorganized, strategies revised, and officers trained to anticipate unpredictability. Yet deep within the Empire, there was a sense of respect, even fear, for the species that had shown them the limits of their power. One small ship had rewritten what it meant to fight and survive in space. On the Terran ship, Mara reflected quietly. "We do not fight to conquer. We fight to endure, to learn, and to protect. That is what makes humans strong. That is why we survive, and why the galaxy will remember us." The crew continued their journey, calm and vigilant. Every move, every action, and every choice reinforced the truth they had proven: intelligence, adaptability, and teamwork were stronger than sheer numbers or advanced technology. The galaxy would never forget the lessons of that lone Terran warship. In the darkness of space, one ship carried the story of humanity forward. The message was clear to every empire, every fleet, and every civilization: no empire survives a Terran warship. And now, the galaxy understood why.